a go lie. I know everybody a go lie. Success don't come overnight. No matter no substance over hype. Do it for the love, me not do it for the life.
What's good? Welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real. I'm live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Keep It Real is your go-to show for personal and professional development, diving deep into fitness, public speaking, networking, and sometimes real estate. I appreciate you joining me this evening, even if you're watching live or on the replay. And if you are watching live, say hello, interact. It's a live show here, all right? Let's connect. This isn't just a show. This is the start of a growing community. Together, we can build a space where like-minded individuals can connect, learn, and grow personally and professionally. What's next in your personal or professional journey? Let me know, comment, and let's kick things off together. Hello, I'm Jason Harris, and I'm unofficially the fittest commercial real estate professional south of Boston, but maybe not this far south. Also known as Coach FitPro J, your diet-free fat loss specialist. I'm the coach who talks the talk and walks the walk. I've been there, done that, and now I empower real estate professionals and entrepreneurs to take control of their nutrition and fitness without feeling overwhelmed by keeping it simple, keeping it moving, and keeping it real. Welcome to the weekly live broadcast, Keeping It Real. All right, tonight we're going to start off with the core four of networking. And then after that, the real estate roundup segment, we'll get into something. And then we'll get into fitness success, the four pillars of achievement. And then we'll finish up with from stage fright to spotlight. That's the public speaking segment of the show. Let's get started. The core four of networking. Networking is an essential skill in both business and personal development. In the core four of networking segment, I break down the key practices for building strong, lasting relationships. Do you know about the core four of networking? Can you tell me what they are? They're on the screen. In case you don't know, here's a short clip that'll get you up to speed on what the core four are. What's up? I'm here with Al to give you guys another networking tip. We've given you 3 so far, and today we're going to give you a 4th. But before we do, let's recap. What's the first thing they got to do, Al?
Show up.
You got to be present and accounted for. What's the second thing?
Be yourself.
You be you, your authentic self, because nobody likes fake people. Not a good look. What's number 3?
Pay attention.
You got to do some active listening. You got to know what's going on. You don't want to stare into somebody's eyes and nod your head thinking about what you got to say next. Pay attention. And now that the recap's done, I think the 4th one's the most important. What do you think, Al?
Oh yeah, there's no point in doing all 3 if you don't do the 4th.
That's right. So why is the 4th so important now?
Because the fortune's in the FU.
What do you mean?
Fortune's in the follow-up.
Ah, that's right, follow up. Don't have a conversation with somebody, take their business card, and then do nothing. Follow up. Speaking of following up, if you guys would like to hear more networking tips from Al and myself, comment more or yes please underneath this video. And Al, what are we going to do after they make that comment?
Follow up.
Haha, that's right. See you guys later. All right, how do you guys like that clip? I love that clip. Me and I got to do some more clips. We'll do some shortly. So anyhow, like I said, I'll be breaking down the core 4 1 week at a time. Week 1 is show up. Why simply being present can open doors to success. Week 2, be yourself. Authenticity is the key to forming genuine connections. Week 3, pay attention. The importance of active listening and being fully engaged with others. And then we got week 4, follow up. How to maintain and grow relationships beyond the first meeting. You at home, which of these 4 steps, showing up, being yourself, paying attention, or following up, do you think has been the biggest, or which one of those do you think has had the biggest impact on your success? And which one do you need to work on the most? And I wanted to also know, do you even network? Do you even network? I hope you do. If not, maybe you should pay attention to this segment that's coming up here tonight and Maybe you will after that. Anyhow, help me help you. Please share your answer in the comments. In addition to exploring the core four of networking, this segment will also showcase local members of the networking organizations that I'm affiliated with, as well as other businesses and professionals in my network. I'll also provide insights on local networking events that I attend. Tonight, Al Moy, my networking buddy, and I will show up and share our insights on networking expectations drawn from our own experience. So you guys get to see the inside of our brains, me and Al, as far as what we think of networking and what's going on in our brains when we're networking. You'll be glad that you showed up. Just be yourself and pay attention to what we have to say. And if you have any questions while you watch, this is a live show, right? Feel free to ask them in the comments, and Al and I will follow up. Please stand by while I queue up that video. How you doing, Al?
I'm doing well, Jason. How you doing?
Awesome, awesome. Can you please introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Albert Boy. I'm a financial advisor at Edward Jones. So I've been in I've been with Edward Jones for over 5 years, and I've been in the financial industry for over 33 years. And one of my top strategy is networking. So networking, I eat, sleep, and dream about networking. So that's what we're here for.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. Yeah, Al is a member of multiple networking events. Everybody knows Al. When you go to a networking event, everybody knows Al. All right, so let's get into expectations as it relates into networking. Here's the first talking point: how show up and stay consistent. All right, simply being present can open doors to success. Attending one event won't yield immediate results. Building rapport and trust takes regular attendance. So, what do you think, Al? Showing up, huh, and stay consistent. I think there's some people out there that they just kind of show up to one or two, and that's pretty much it. And they expect something. Their expectations are out of this world.
Right. I mean, I felt that way in the beginning as well. But I see that a lot of people they say, oh, I'm gonna go check out this networking event. They go there, they get a little intimidated, whether it's going to be a small crowd or a big crowd. And when they get there, they meet one or two people, three people, maybe they meet a handful, and then they don't find, in the beginning they just say, I don't think I got anything out. A lot of times is you have to go. The meaning showing up is you have to go to that even that same event that they hold once a month. You have to go there more than once or twice. It's network is all about getting for people to know you, to see who you are, what you do. It's to build that relationship.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like dating, right? You
Right.
you don't just ask for the business, right? Hey, will you marry me? You gotta know the person, or you got to spend time, and the only way to do that is to show up and like stay consistent, show up to more than one. Let's go into this next talking point. So when you do show up, right, so here's another talking point: be yourself and focus on building relationships, like you were just talking about. People appreciate sincerity. Don't try to be overly polished or pushy. Just be yourself. Don't expect immediate business deals again, right? Networking is about creating connections that develop over time, and authenticity is the key. What say
Right.
you, Al?
Yeah. Yeah. I bump into a lot of people, and when I see everyone wants to you could say let the other person know that they are someone that's not. Well, let me see how I just say this is. They try to be someone who are not themselves. Let's say I could say that, oh yeah, I do this, which is I'm exaggerating of what I really do. And sometimes is people can see right through you. They can tell, just your story's changing all the time. A lot of times, just be yourself. You're here to just talk to someone and just to make a friend. And so when you go somewhere and say you're here to meet a friend, or like you said, dating, the first time you're on your first date, you're here to just say, hey, just be yourself. And talk to that person. Say, hey, what do you like to do? What do you do for fun? And things like that. It's just like you're dating, pretty much networking. How it comes to it.
Yeah, no, eventually, you got to be yourself because eventually the real you is going to come out. So why not just lead with that? And like you were saying, Al, right? I mean, I haven't been networking as long as Al has, but I can see it when someone's being disingenuous or not authentic. You can see right through it. It's just it's a very thin veil. It's funny to see newbies do that. Even not even just newbies. Some others that aren't newbies do it too. But yeah, you can see right through it, and it's not attractive at all. Just be yourself. I think people get caught up in the whole I'm here to get business, and they're going about it with the wrong expectations is what I want to say. So that's why I'm glad we're talking about expectations today. So again, show up and then be yourself. So we got this other talking point here. uh, Show up, be yourself, then pay attention, right? Pay attention and bring value. Don't just take. Actively listen and be fully engaged with others. So, pay attention and then be prepared to offer something of value, maybe some advice, a resource, referrals, or maybe even an introduction to someone they're looking for, instead of just promoting your business. Ask, like, what are you looking for? Instead of, hey, I do this. What do you think about that, Al?
Oh yeah, definitely. My thing is, because I'm a financial advisor. One of my things that I do a lot is I listen. One of the most thing about networking, about building a relationship with someone is when you meet someone is to listen, is to stop talking and just listen. Because a lot of time is, and then when you do follow up, well, we'll talk more later on about that, but uh, people just want to, a lot of time people, they don't want to hear what you want to say, but they like to talk, say what they want to say. So a lot of time if you pay attention, you listen to some of the things that that person says, and then later on, you can repeat back what they said. They said you were listening, you know, and you weren't just, looking somewhere else. And later on, I asked you, so do you remember what I do? You go, oh, sorry, I don't know. You know.
Yeah, that's a bad feeling when you're talking to somebody and that you had just met and you're having what you feel is an authentic conversation, and then all of a sudden they ask you a question of something you already answered or something like that. I mean, that's embarrassing enough for me to just active listen anyway because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person, so I'm paying attention. I'm paying attention for more than that reason, but that's a big reason to pay attention. Uh, all right, so the next thing I wanted to mention as a talking point. So stay open minded and manage your expectations. Again, a lot of new people. A lot of new people new to networking anyway. You may not meet your next client immediately, but you could meet someone who introduces you to them. That's happened to me many times. Or don't expect to walk away with dozens of leads. Sometimes one meaningful connection is more valuable than a stack of business cards. What do you think about
Right.
that, Al?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of people when I say, hey, I'm going to this networking event. Do you want to go check it out? I mean, it's usually pretty good. The first thing they ask is, how many people are going to be there? I say, it doesn't matter. Even if there's only five people and you only made contact, a good contact that night with two people, that's all you need. And I can tell you from last year, I had a killer year last year where I was networking about eight events every week. Not seeing my family till the weekend. So, but then I was actually getting two new clients out of every event that I went to. You know,
Wow.
and that's all you need. You don't need 100. You don't need 50. You just need that one or two. And if they like your service, I think like what you do, they're gonna refer other people.
Exactly. No, I love that. Um, Expectations as far as new people coming in, all you do need is just one person. I mean, when I go to any networking event, I always have a minimum of I need to connect with at least one person because that's all it really takes is one person. Sometimes that's actually a few times that's all that has happened. And that one person has made a difference, and so yeah, don't worry about collecting all these business cards and getting all of these leads. But if you do, you might want to pay attention to our next talking point here. All you need is one. So the next talking point: follow up. The real impact often comes after the event. Like Al says, right? The fortune's in the FU and the follow up. Follow up meaningful conversations to turn a brief encounter into a lasting relationship. Follow up. What do you have to say about following up, Al?
Sure. And that's why all three steps that we've already talked about, and the follow up, why it's important to know all three, is when you do follow up with someone, the pay attention is really important. Is that's when you follow up with someone, then you can say, I remember you had a question about this, or you mentioned something about this. This is maybe somewhere something. So you find where somebody had told you the answer of what they're looking for. Maybe you can find someone in the network. Maybe it's not your business. Maybe somebody else that you can also refer that person to this new person you just met. So a lot of times is following up is you also during the meeting at the event is you could say, hey, is it all right if I follow up with you in a couple of days? I just want to learn more about what you do. Some, of course, then you want to say, oh, you want to learn more what I do? Yeah, okay, sure. You're not here selling your business. You're here to say, I'm here to learn more about you. People are more than happy to take your call. And you say, okay, I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to make sure that we're going to set up this call, set up a time, and you just go and just listen to what he says, and then you find out more.
Yeah, like we were talking about dating, right? You got to pay attention, and that's the other thing I wanted to bring back the whole pay attention thing. Um, if you pay attention to somebody, like Al was saying, especially on the follow up, I've seen it before, and you bring something up that they didn't think you would remember, and it blows their mind. It really blows their mind, and it really does take the relationship to another level because people love to be heard and listened to. So that's huge. Pay attention for, especially those last two. Pay attention to follow up, but you need to show up anyway, right? And be your authentic
Right.
self in order to carry everything through. Um, awesome, Al. Awesome. You have anything else to share as far as networking is concerned on this episode?
Uh, well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot, but the thing is, you just have to be there, um, and just be yourself.
Yeah, authenticity, man. That's huge. That's a major attractor right there. Is being authentic. All right, awesome. So I want to know from you at home, what's been the biggest networking challenge for you, and how have you overcome it? Or maybe you haven't yet, and we could talk about it on the show. Feel free to share your biggest networking challenges and how you overcome them. Again, like I said, or if you're still working on it, let us know in the comments. And then I'd love to hear your experiences and ideas. So if you are interested in being a guest on the show to dive deeper into your story, reach out. I'd love to have you. People would love to hear. Al, what's the best way for someone in the audience to connect with you?
They can either go through you, or they can, email me at albert.moy, that's MUI, jones.com.
Awesome. And again, you could also leave on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube a comment as well, and we'll follow up. See what I did there? All right. Thanks for joining me tonight, Al. Hope to see you on future episodes. Awesome.
Right.
All right. What valuable information, if any, did you get? I want to know. Let me know in the comments, even if you watch it on the replay. All right. Next Monday is week 2. So the topic will be yourself. Authenticity is the key to forming genuine connections. Interested in being a guest on the show? All you got to do is reach out. I'd love to have you. Seriously, let's do this. Contact me and we can showcase your business and what you do, or anything else that you might think of. Maybe your authentic self. Again, let me know. I'd love to have you on the show. And if you catch me at a networking event, don't hesitate to pull me aside and let's make some on camera magic happen. We could do that too. Either way, let's do it. All right. Next up is the real estate roundup segment. The real estate roundup segment keeps you updated on the latest in the real estate world, whether you're interested in residential or commercial. This segment's got you covered. I'll invite guest experts to share insights to discuss the subjects that you want to hear more about. And you know what? Speaking of guest experts, tonight you'll hear from one. Tonight we're talking residential real estate, specifically the crucial role of a closing attorney in a home buying and selling process. Joining me is Casey Cole Esquire, the experienced real estate attorney and owner of Harmony Title, Servicing, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. We're going to break down some important questions like, why do people need a closing attorney? What exactly does a closing attorney do? And is title insurance really necessary? If you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate, this is a conversation that you don't want to miss. Let's bring in Casey out from backstage and get to it. All right, let's see here. Sorry, technical difficulties. Live show. Oh, there she is. Okay. How's it going, Casey?
Hi.
All right. So, I know I kind of gave you an intro, but you know what? Would you mind introducing yourself to the audience and tell them all about what you do and who you are and all that fun stuff?
Sure. I'm Casey Cole. I am the only attorney at Harmony Title PC. I do real estate closings. I'm licensed in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I've been practicing since 2012, so got a few years under my belt at this point. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's get into stuff here. So why do people actually need a closing attorney? Why do people need Oh, I'm sorry. Before I even ask that, I apologize. If there are any real estate agents or actually anybody else that has any questions about closings and anything that a closing attorney might, just ask them. We might not be able to answer them all, but at least you can get the questions in, and Casey can follow up with you if we don't get to it. Right, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So if you have any questions and you're watching this live, hey, we might be able to answer some live, or I should say she might be able to answer some live. Or if you are watching the replay and you do comment, we will follow up.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, let me get back to that. So, Casey, why do people actually need a closing attorney?
So in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, where I practice, it's actually required. They're called attorney states, which means that you have to have a licensed attorney perform a real estate closing. That's not like that in every state. Some states can be done just by title companies, which aren't supervised by attorneys. But in Mass and Rhode Island, it's required. And
before you go on, because I don't want to cut you off in the middle of something else, but yeah, I do remember that when I did residential real estate back in 2003 to 2008 down in sunny South Florida, we used a title company all the time, and we did not use an attorney. So it's not an attorney state. So that's funny that you mentioned that. Anyhow, sorry, go right ahead.
That's okay. So even if you're not in an attorney state, right, a real estate purchase is probably your biggest investment that a normal person is going to have, right? It's buying real estate, buying and selling. So I just think even if you're not in an attorney state, why would you not want an attorney? This is a legal transaction. It's a legal conveyance of ownership in the property from one party to another, and all the things that come along with that, such as liens on the property and all these potentially costly disasters that could come up in the future, that I think it's really important to have a licensed attorney reviewing all of that for you and making sure that your interests are protected.
I got a follow-up question to that.
Sure.
I've heard before people not using an attorney or not. No, I'm sorry. It's a attorney state, so you got to. But people not wanting to use an attorney sometimes in a non-attorney state like Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they think that the attorney is going to slow things up or gum things up. You know what I mean? That's the feel down that way anyway. What do you got to say about that? Anything at all? I don't know if you have any experience with non-title states and non-attorney states and any of that.
I don't have any experience in non-attorney states, but I can see the concern. I can see even, when I'm practicing, there are certain attorneys who might, make things a little more difficult. That's why I think it's important to just establish a relationship with your attorney. Make sure you get to know the person, how they work, and if that's the type of fit for you. I always view my role as, how can we make this work? How can we get to the closing table? Obviously protecting my client's legal interests at the same time, but I never want to create more issues than need to be created. I want to look for any potential issues and solve them and work together with the other side to solve them. And I think for the most part, from the attorneys that I've worked with, that seems to be how most real estate closing attorneys work. Like, we're very cordial with each other. We all try to figure things out and solve things. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I really like what I do. I like being a real estate attorney as opposed to other attorneys who view their whole role as fighting.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, other attorneys or some attorneys couldn't gum up the works, but that's great that you try to get it done, but you still have your client's interest at best, of course.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
uh,
things come up, issues come up, and so the best approach, I think, is okay, then how do we solve it to get the deal closed?
Awesome. So that brings me to the next question. And by the way, just before I do get to it, we don't have any questions in the comments yet. So if anybody does have a question, a closing question, or just a real estate question in general, for an attorney, go ahead and just ask it. And like I said, if we can't or she can't answer it now, she'll be able to get back with you. Anyhow, so the next question I have, and if you have one, chime in on the comments. Like I said, what exactly does a closing attorney actually do?
Sure. I think a lot of people probably have that question because most of my interaction with the clients is when we're sitting at the closing table and I'm saying sign here, sign here, sign here. But there's a lot more to my job than just showing people where to sign and date documents. So basically, just I'll kind of go from the role of the closing attorney, the buyer's attorney. I should have maybe explained that before. The closing attorney is typically the buyer's attorney or the attorney for the lender that's lending the buyer the money for the purchase. The seller doesn't always have an attorney. So maybe I should have mentioned that. I should have mentioned that before. If the seller doesn't want to hire their own attorney, the closing attorney can prepare the deed and other legal documents that may be required. However, I think a seller, again, should have their own attorney looking out for their own interests. The closing attorney's role is going to be representing the buyer or the mortgage lender. Yes, they can prepare legal documents for you, but they're not looking out for your best interests or maybe working for you as hard as they would be. But
I was gonna say there's got to be, if I was the seller, I want some sort of representation, if especially if the buyer's gonna have representation, because like you just said, yeah, the buyer's attorney will get some paperwork prepared for the seller, but again, they're working as the best interest for the buyer.
correct.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but when I'm the closing attorney, I start my file by doing a title exam, which is just examining all the legal records that are recorded in the registry of deeds on that property for the last 50 years for a purchase. So we actually go back, we look at every deed from the last 50 years. We want to make sure that each transaction was done properly so that the person who currently owns the house and is selling to my buyer has the legal right and fully owns that property, and there were no issues from any of the deeds prior into them. We're also searching for mortgages or any other liens that are recorded against the property. We need to know exactly what needs to be done in order to ensure that my buyer is getting the property with no issues from the previous owner. We'll also order a plot plan, which is just like a scaled drawing of the dimensions of the property, the lot, right? And then it shows you where the structures are on the property. So if they're the house, obviously, sheds, garages, anything like that. And the purpose of the plot plan is to alert the buyer to potential issues if there are any encroachments. So either say the house you're buying, the shed is partially on the neighbor's land. If you didn't have a plot plan and you didn't know to order a plot plan because you didn't use a closing attorney, that could be a huge issue for you down the road, right? If the neighbor's like, hey, your shed's in my yard, you need to tear it down, or even worse, the house is partially over the property line, which I have actually seen in the past. That's actually happened. The plot plan
Oh
came back
no!
and the house was over the property line. So that could
Wow.
be a huge issue for the buyer down the road that obviously you want to deal with before the closing. We also order an MLC, which is a municipal lien certificate. That's just a a document that comes from the city or the town where the property is located, saying if there are any municipal liens, like a tax lien on the property. So basically, we're just gathering all kinds of information, making sure that we have everything cleared up for the buyer to own it outright.
Make sure the buyer is the buyer and the seller is the seller.
Exactly. And make sure the buyer is not inheriting any issues from the current seller. That's the main goal.
Can I ask you if you can think of any outside the box, off the wall issues that have happened as far as inheritances that or could have inherited, that a buyer could have inherited from a seller?
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of things, and this is kind of goes into when I know you said we want to talk about title insurance a little bit, so maybe I'll explain that in more detail when we talk about.
Sure.
That work?
Yeah, absolutely.
So back to what we also do is obviously drafting and reviewing legal documents. So I usually get involved at the purchase and sale agreement stage. If I'm representing a seller, I'll draft the purchase and sale agreement. It's usually the seller side that does that. So if I'm on the buyer side, I'm reviewing the purchase and sale agreement that was drafted by the seller's attorney, just to make sure that my clients are protected, make sure that any contingencies that they need in there. So most common, we have a financing contingency. So if the buyer can't get the mortgage that they need, they're able to back out of the deal and get their deposit back. Or an inspection contingency, so they can have the home inspected. And if the inspection results come back bad, something that the inspector alerts them to a potential issue that could be costly in the future, the buyer would have the right to back out again and get their deposit back. So those are kind of just the main issues I'm reviewing, but there are a lot of things that people can sneak into a purchase and sale agreement. So if you don't have a lawyer reviewing that for you, it's often like, let's say a 8 or 9 page document, you're not going to know what you're signing, most likely, if you don't have it reviewed by an attorney.
Right. So I'm going to break it down to you, like what it says without reading all the fine print and trying to translate it. Yep.
And then we also draft all the legal documents needed for closing. So I'm drafting the deed, I'm drafting a mortgage if that's needed. We draft, anybody who's ever been to a real estate closing knows there's like a lot of paper that you have to sign. So, we're drafting most of those documents. If there's a loan involved, some of them come directly from the bank, but we draft a good portion of them. We also collect and disperse all the funds. So that's hugely important. You want to make sure that everybody's getting paid that should be paid. So again, the buyer's not inheriting any issues if somebody didn't properly pay off a more outstanding mortgage or a tax lien, etc. So that's a big part of my job, is collecting all the funds and properly accounting for every penny.
Jeez. I mean, I don't know, it kind of sounds like a little bit in there that you may end up doing a lot of the real estate agents' work in some instances, just in some cases, because of just the nature of being involved in so much. You're relied on heavily.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to like the relationship between real estate agents and the closing attorney. There are some that want me to do certain things and some that do it themselves. And so it's kind of like we just get to know each other and know how each of us prefer to work. And I kind of have a different understanding with different agents that I work with, depending on their needs.
Sure.
Yeah. And then we also issue title insurance.
Yeah. So title insurance, is that actually what is it for the audience, obviously? And is it really needed? Is it necessary? And but all these are really for the audience, but is title insurance, what is it, and is it really necessary?
Okay. So title insurance is a one-time purchase. You pay for it at closing. You don't have to pay for it again. Unlike, car insurance, homeowners insurance, you have to pay for it every year. And also, unlike car and homeowners insurance, title insurance protects you against any issues from the past, as opposed to car and homeowners that protects you against future problems. So like I was saying, when we do the title exam, we examine all these documents in the registry of deeds going back 50 years. But we can only examine what's there for us to see. So I go online, I go to the registry of deeds. Well, in Massachusetts, it's registry of deeds. In Rhode Island, it's at the town hall. But regardless, I look at all the legal records and I can only see what's there. So for example, misspelling. This is, humans are inputting this information into the records, into the registries where you have to go search, and there's human error in anything. So for example, if I'm saying Jason Harris owned this property for 20 years and I'm searching Jason Harris for liens, but somebody spelled your name wrong, or just a
Got
typo.
the letter out.
Yeah. And a lien doesn't show up in my exam, but it still exists.
Oh, what a
That could be
nightmare.
an issue for the buyer down the road. And even with a perfect title exam, a lot of people think, oh, well, I have the attorney do the title exam. Why do I need title insurance? It's for things that wouldn't show up even in a perfect title exam. So the biggest one by far is just the errors in the public records. There are many mistakes. Sometimes it's noted as the wrong property address, the names are spelled incorrectly, etc. These things happen. Another issue that can come up would be like forged deeds. So how about if, and that's actually becoming a huge issue nowadays.
Really?
Seller impersonation. Yeah, it's scary because, a lot of things are done remotely now. So you have these sellers who are saying, or these like sellers who are saying, oh, I'm selling my property, and they'll do a mail away closing and just mail in the deed that's notarized. Could be made up, could be not the actual seller, not the actual owner of the property.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's actually becoming an issue. So forged deeds, again, if I'm just looking at records on a computer screen that says Jason Harris signed this deed, I don't know what Jason Harris's signature looks like. It's there, it's signed where it's supposed to be, it's notarized. I'm checking that off my list. So that's another issue that could come up. Another issue would be like if a prior owner of the property died and it was sold from their estate or by their heirs, and then 10 years down the road, another heir shows up and says, oh, but hey, wait, I didn't sign that. And I'm actually his heir and I actually own 1/3 of the property. And and that person has a legal claim of a third interest in your property. That's a huge issue. Title insurance would cover that. Title insurance will cover the legal costs to fight the claim, or they cover you up to the purchase price that you paid. So if you end up, God forbid, like losing the house, you would get the money back that you paid for it. So is title insurance required? No. Owner's title insurance is optional, which means the buyer, for the title insurance to protect the buyer, it's optional. I can't understand why, because I will tell you, I would never buy real estate without title insurance. It's hugely important. Just think about what you stand to lose, which is potentially your entire property. And the cost is so minimal. It's a one-time cost. I should have looked this up before I came on. I apologize. I don't know off the top.
X amount per the sales price.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But like, just as a rough idea, typical sales price is like 400, 500, 400,000, somewhere around in that ballpark. I think the owner's title insurance on that is like $800 to $1,000 roughly.
Okay. So a fraction, yeah.
It's like,
and it's at one time, like you said.
And the downside of not having it is so huge that I would highly recommend anybody buying property get title insurance. But just to clarify, when I said owner's title insurance, there's two types of title insurance. There's lenders and owners. So if you buy a house with a lender with a mortgage, they require you to get lenders and title insurance. A lender will not lend for a purchase without title insurance.
Of course not.
I'll tell you something. It's important.
Right. CYA. Cover your ass. But
Exactly.
seriously though, If not anything for the human error part of it anyway, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, it happens. Humans make mistakes, you know,
It
and
does.
it's fairly common.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of different crazy stuff myself, and I highly recommend anyone get owner's title insurance if you buy cash or what have you, for real.
Mhm.
Um, all right. So, uh, anything else that you'd like to add tonight, Casey?
I would just say for the real estate professionals that might be in your audience, like real estate agents, you know, I just think it's important to have to develop a relationship with a closing attorney. Obviously, I hope it's me, but if it's not, you know, it can be such an asset to you. I have so many real estate agents that I'm really close with that text me, that call me fairly regularly. Hey, quick question, and I try to always be there for those because it's important. That's not your role as a real estate agent. You're not supposed to know all the laws or how to properly word something. I get a lot of phone calls about, oh, I'm putting in an offer, how should I word this, we want to ask for this, etc. So it is important, and especially because, like I was saying, I get a lot of questions about offers because, as you know, Jason, the process goes, right, the buyer puts in an offer, then that offer is accepted, then you go to purchase and sale agreement, and a lot of people think that it's not a contract until you get to the purchase and sale. No, an offer is a contract, and it's very important, and that's often 99% of the time done before the attorney gets involved. So if you're a real estate agent and you even have an inkling of a question of, am I doing this right, just ask the question. Because if I am asked to draft a purchase and sale agreement and I get an offer that's already signed, and then the agent says, oh, but by the way, my client needs a contingency for this, unless the other side just voluntarily agrees to it, I can't add a term in a purchase and sale agreement that wasn't in the offer.
Right.
So,
No, that's awesome. So, listen to Casey. Relationships matter. In commercial real estate, JNUS Realty Group, we have relationships with licensed site professionals. That's for like contaminated 21E issues.
mhm.
We have good relationships with appraisers, because a lot of commercial appraisals can be hard to come by, or some of them can be very difficult. It's nice to have relationships with appraisers. And then another relationship that we have is with well, we just have a ton of different I don't want to give out all our secrets now. We have a lot of good relationships. So Casey makes a good point to have relationships with other professionals in your industry. It just helps, everybody helps everybody out, and it's just a positive thing all around.
Yeah.
uh,
A lot of times people are like, oh, I hate to bother you, but no, bother me, because I'd rather you ask the question now than us trying to clean up a mistake 2 weeks from now.
right, little preventative maintenance here.
Mm. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So, Casey, thanks for sharing your expertise. This has been incredibly valuable discussion. Anyway, I'm sure that once people do see it on the replay as well, they'll have questions, and they'll go ahead and put them in the comments. And like I said, we'll follow up.
Yeah.
So, again, if you're in Massachusetts or Rhode Island and need a trusted real estate attorney, reach out to Casey and Harmony Title for expert guidance. You know, um, thank you very much, Casey, and we'll see you again.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks. All right. So I want to know from at home, what questions do you have about real estate closings or title insurance? Drop them in the comments. Like I said, we'll follow up. Me, myself, or Casey will follow up and get you the answers you need. And I'm going to shamelessly plug myself here and my team. If you didn't already know, I'm with JNUS Realty Group. There we are right there. We are a commercial real estate brokerage and consulting firm out of Braintree, Massachusetts, servicing all of Eastern Massachusetts. And we specialize in commercial real estate transactions, including sales and leases. And we also consult on a variety of commercial real estate related matters, including but not limited to nonprofits, religious and otherwise, potentially environmentally compromised properties, and transit oriented development as well. Other services do include commercial lease audits. And if you or anyone you know owns a commercial real estate property or a commercial property and wants to know its worth on the current market, we can do a commercial broker opinion of value for you. If you or someone you know is in need of a commercial real estate professional, please contact us directly or comment on this video and we'll follow up with you. And the other thing is, too, we also work with residential real estate brokers. So if you happen to be a residential agent or broker in need of commercial expertise, please don't hesitate to connect with us for assistance. We do referrals. What real estate topics are you wanting to know more about? Residential, commercial, or something completely different? I'd really appreciate it if you'd share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're watching on the replay, like I said, your input is just as valuable. Your feedback will guide in creating future content. Next up, we have the Fitness Success, the 4 Pillars of Achievement segment. Each week, I alone or with a guest will break down a specific pillar to help you build a balanced, sustainable fitness routine. Week 1, Pillar 1, Nutrition Habits. Master your nutrition and fuel your body for success. Week 2 is Pillar 2, Stress Management. Practical strategies for managing life's inevitable stressors. Week 3, Pillar 3, Physical Activity. Tips to stay active and energized no matter your fitness level. And then week 4, Recovery Measures. Recovery is the key. Learn the best ways to rest, recharge, and avoid burnout, both in and out of the gym. Okay. This is the first Monday of the month. So our focus tonight will be on Pillar 1, Nutrition Habits. Master your nutrition and fuel your body for success. This week, I thought I'd share one of my favorite creations, the step-by-step recipe for my delicious, mouth-watering Jamaican chicken fried rice. I randomly created this recipe, this creation. You know, I'm a chef too, by the way. How can you be a nutrition coach and not cook? I mean, for real. Anyway, I randomly created this around 2010. Man, so it's been about 15 years. And the Jamaican chicken fried rice, I got the colors of the Jamaican flag, black, yellow, and green. Black is the chicken, and some of the egg white, because when you cook it, it gets a little black. You'll see in the video. And then the yellow stands for the banana in it. All right. And then green is the organic spinach. All right. So if you want to, please stand by while I cue up the video. Here it is. What's up, Fit Fam? Let me show you how to make my Jamaican chicken fried rice. We're going to start this off with some boneless, skinless chicken breast diced up. Now season the chicken breast with salt, pepper, granulated garlic, as well as cinnamon. And let's not forget the most important part, the signature part of the dish, the Weber Jamaican jerk seasoning. Make sure you get the Jamaican jerk from Weber. That's good stuff. Use another plate to flip the chicken so that you can season both sides. Now that both sides of the chicken have been seasoned, you can put it aside and season the white jasmine rice that you portioned off. You want to season it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, granulated garlic, and then cinnamon, and very little of that Weber Jamaican jerk seasoning. Next up, slice up some of that banana and season it with cinnamon. Next is organic spinach. Want to go ahead and chop that up, and after we chop it up, we're going to season it with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then of course, granulated garlic. Keeping it moving, we're going to go ahead and take 3 egg whites from 3 cracked eggs. Shit, I didn't mean to do that. Now I gotta go ahead and fish it out. Check this out. That's how you do it. Egg white mission done. Organic spinach, jasmine rice, banana, chicken breast, and egg white. And now, spray the pan. I use extra virgin olive oil spray right now. Set the heat to medium and then wait about 2 minutes or so for the pan to heat up before adding chicken. And then cover and cook the chicken for about 3 minutes before uncovering to flip the chicken over. After flipping all the pieces over, you want to cover the chicken again for 2 minutes. After the 2 minutes is up, go ahead and uncover it, and you want to add the egg white to the mix. Then season the egg white with a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, granulated garlic, and of course cinnamon. Time to add that white jasmine rice that's been seasoned to the mix. Just dump it right on top of it. Next comes the organic spinach that you seasoned. Dump it right on top and move it around. Then go ahead and cover the pan and cook for 3 minutes before uncovering and flipping the egg, rice, and the whole thing. Take care to go ahead and flip it all. After everything's turned over, you want to add the banana that you seasoned with the cinnamon. And then cover one more time to cook for another 3 minutes. Then you can go ahead and uncover it and flip it one more time gently. And now it's all ready to serve. There it is, the finished plate. And that's how you make my famous Jamaican chicken fried rice. One love. Time to go eat. See ya. All right. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you think. And if you do try to recreate and duplicate the recipe, let me know how it comes out. All right. You can leave a comment under this video. You can direct message me. All right. That wraps up tonight's fitness success segment. Next Monday is week 2. So we'll be discussing Pillar 2, stress management, practical strategies for managing life's inevitable stressors. Are you interested in being a guest on the show or joining the conversation? Maybe have your questions answered on the next show? All you got to do is ask. Comment below and we'll make it happen, even for those watching the replay. Now let's move on to the final segment for tonight. From stage fright to spotlight, our comprehensive public speaking segment designed to help you master this crucial skill. Whether you're speaking to a large audience or you're just in front of a small group, this segment of the show will give you the tools you need to shed the stage fright and step confidently into the spotlight. This segment of the show will also have guest appearances from some of my fellow Toastmasters. If you don't know what Toastmasters is, I think I should probably tell you. Toastmasters International is a nonprofit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills through a worldwide network of clubs. I belong to the Spirited Speakers Club out of Middleborough, Massachusetts. We currently meet virtually on the 2nd and the 4th Wednesdays of every month. Stay tuned because at the end of this segment, I'm going to share with you how you can join in on one of my next Toastmaster meetings. In tonight's segment, my fellow Toastmasters, Bethany and Sean, join me as we share our personal experiences and insights on what to expect when developing public speaking skills. And we talk about a lot of info about our own Toastmaster experience or our experiences within Toastmasters. So again, please stand by while I cue up the video. Tonight's From Stage Fright to Spotlight segment with special guests Bethany and Sean is all about expectations as it pertains to public speaking. Let's bring them both out. Let's see here. We got Sean and we have Bethany. Perfect. So how are you both this evening?
Very well.
Doing great, Jason.
Awesome. Awesome. Could you please introduce yourselves and let the audience know who you are and what you do? Go ahead, Bethany. Ladies first.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, like Jason said, I'm Bethany Hashway. I'm from Rhode Island, and I do run my own news website for the East Greenwich and Warwick area. I'm also the District 31 Public Relations Manager, and I'm a part of 3 Toastmasters groups. Spirited Speakers, Rhode Island Active Toastmasters, and Island Foghorns.
Awesome. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, so my name is Sean Silver. I have been in Toastmasters for over 16 years. I am also, like Bethany, a member of 3 Toastmasters group with Jason and Bethany. I am a member of Spirited Speakers. I also am a member and former president of the Fall River Innovators Toastmasters Club. And I also am a longtime member of Saturday Brunch Bunch. So that's a little bit about my Toastmaster experience.
Yeah, these two have a lot more Toastmaster experience than I do. That's for sure. All right, so let's get into expectations as it relates to public speaking. Here's the first talking point. Expect to start small. Toastmasters is a supportive environment, so you'll begin with short, simple speeches to build confidence before tackling more advanced topics. What do you guys have to say about that? About starting
This is
small?
a great expectation to start with, because not a lot of people come to Toastmasters knowing what to expect. And the first trap that I think people fall into is thinking like, oh man, I'm going to have to do these speeches where I'm going to do a lot of research and have to spend a lot of time, crafting like what my speech is going to be about. And the reality is really, when you come to Toastmasters, we encourage you to speak about what you already know, because it's not about the subject matter that's important to us. It's about you practicing and building your confidence and learning the art of public speaking. So it's really, that's the first expectation. Don't expect that you're going to need to do a lot of research, a lot of writing. Just really, it's more about the practice, and it's more about talking about things you already know about. Is the best speeches. Those are the best speeches I hear.
What about you, Bethany?
I'm going to echo what Sean said too. And I'd also say take on the small roles. You don't have to jump into doing your icebreaker right away too, because that's the first speech. So start off with like being the timer, grammarian, the out counter. It will set your tone for the program.
So icebreaker, right? You mentioned icebreaker. For those that don't know, in Toastmasters, your very first one of the very first speeches that you do is called the icebreaker, and the icebreaker has to do anything to do with you that you want to convey to the club.
Exactly.
So it could be on anything, right, guys?
Yep, it's you introducing yourself to the club.
Awesome.
Yeah, not only just you about yourself, but also introducing the club to your interests.
Yes.
Right. So you can start small and just don't worry about doing all this research, or you got to do all these big speeches. It's really a self-paced type of environment, a very inviting place to practice. So it's perfect for public speaking, especially with people that have anxiety with public speaking. Next talking point: progress takes time. Public speaking is a skill that improves with practice. I can definitely attest to that. Don't expect to master it overnight, but consistent participation leads to noticeable growth. You guys want to speak on that? Progress takes time.
It does take time. When I first started in Toastmasters, I was back in 2012. I was so scared. I was like holding on to the lectern because we met in person prior to COVID. I was gripping onto the table. I was so nervous, but now I don't have that fear of it, of like having to hold on and like I could be in front of my audience. So for me, I've gained confidence out of Toastmasters.
Awesome.
Yeah,
awesome.
No, I have to agree with that. And actually, it was really interesting watching the previous section with Keon and Casey and thinking about this, that just like in weight loss, where it's not going to happen overnight, it's progress. You're going to take 2 steps forward and then maybe take 1 step back. That the same is true in public speaking. You're going to give, some people come out right out of the gate and give like great speeches and think that they're, hey, I've already mastered this. I've gotten such incredible feedback. But then they give a speech and they feel like, oh, wait a minute, that wasn't so good. That one. Don't give up at that point. Those speeches are the ones where you're going to get the real feedback that is going to help you move even further forward.
And it's funny how you mentioned feedback. That's the next talking point too. But yeah, no, Sean, you're right. Progress, I mean, it is kind of like fat loss. It takes time. You got to be consistent in it and slowly get more confident, and like Bethany did. It's just time. Got to do the reps, like anything else in life. Um, Talking point about feedback. Feedback is constructive. I love Toastmasters for this. For feedback, I'll take a speech or something that I want to maybe do in a networking group, like my spotlight. I did that for one of my spotlights, and I practiced it inside of my Toastmaster club as one of my speeches, and they gave an evaluation, and I was able to improve it and redo it and fix it. It was awesome. So feedback is constructive. Be prepared for regular feedback from peers. It's designed to help you improve, not critique your personality or message. You guys want to talk more about feedback in Toastmasters?
This is another one
Sean
of the
is
things
no, I'm sorry. Sean is like the master when it comes to like evaluation feedback. Oh man, I'll tell you.
I love it. This is one of the reasons I fell in love with Toastmaster is because of the feedback. And it's people get, again, expectations, thinking like, oh man, I have to be so great at this, and they see someone like me who's been doing it for years and thinking like, wow, how did you get to be so good? One, it's about practice. I practiced a lot of giving people feedback, but number two, it's understanding the basics. In Toastmasters, when we're giving people feedback, it's about two things. One, making you aware of the things you're already good at so that it reinforces, keep those positive behaviors going. And then two, just giving you one thing, because in any part of life, if you're trying to do more than one thing at a time, you're probably not going to succeed. So we give you one action item, one thing that you can take away to grow for your next speech. And that's really the basic formula of giving an effective evaluation or giving back feedback is, what did you do well? What can you do to work on for your next speech? Or, and then we like to end with like, hey, this is what I always like to end with. This is what I really liked about your speech, and giving it that personal touch and saying like, hey, this is what I enjoyed. And so I think that's the best type of feedback to get.
I agree. What about you, Bethany? What do you have to say about feedback in Toastmasters?
I agree too. And the feedback helps me to improve my future speeches. Like I think last week I did a speech for my in-person group, and one of my improvements was to bring up a slide so they could see the visual of whatever I feel like it was on my level 2 that I was doing, understanding your leadership style. They said they would like the visual next time. So that was a good feedback to incorporate for my next speech when I give that again.
Yeah, it's all about improving what you have done, and through feedback from your peers. And Toastmasters allows you to do that unlike any other place. It's awesome because it's structured as well like that. Another talking point, you'll learn by listening. This is a good one. You'll learn by listening too. Toastmasters meetings involve listening to other speakers, which helps you learn different speaking styles, approaches, and techniques. Kind of helping networking for paying attention too, I think.
It does. And I think having that listening role that we have in our club too helps. We also have that in my Island Foghorns because you're paying attention more to what everyone is saying.
Yeah, you guys want to explain the listening to the audience at home? The
Yes.
Listener role?
If you don't know what the listener or quizmaster role is, but I know some clubs call it the quizmaster, but it's a role you can take where you jot down notes, and then you, at the end of the meeting, you ask the club members different questions throughout the meeting, like what was the joke of the day, because we always start off too with a joke, or what was someone's speech that they talked about. So it's just a fun little role that clubs do.
Awesome. I love listener role. It helps me in business when I'm having a business meeting with somebody, say via Zoom or what have you, or even in person, and I take notes. And to be able to listen and take notes at the same time, the listener role really helps out with that in Toastmasters. So everything bleeds out into personal and professional development.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say that the listener role is a great role to start with to help you practice for giving other people feedback, because honestly, people say like, what's the hardest part of giving somebody feedback? It's the listening. You got to listen and be able to take those notes at the same time, So listening is huge. It's probably one of the most important parts of being able to give effective feedback, as I call it. If you're not listening, if you're not paying attention with both your ears and your eyes, because also watching what the speaker is doing, then you can't give that feedback to help them to grow and to understand what they're already doing well.
Yeah, and what Sean was talking about as far as listening with your eyes as well in Toastmasters, we pay attention to body language and facial expressions and stuff like that in the speeches too, because that it's part of our communication as human beings, right? And that's what Toastmasters is about, a big part of it. So yeah, listening is awesome on there. So another talking point, you don't have to be perfect. Toastmasters encourages improvement over perfection. Mistakes and nerves are expected, and the environment is designed to help you overcome them. Again, it's an inviting environment. It's not people making fun of you and all. The majority of people in the club have had or have anxiety about public speaking, and everybody's in the same boat, which is awesome. And it's such a supportive environment. Everybody comes there with most people come there with anxiety, and it's just it completely I've heard people's stories in Toastmasters where their anxiety and everything is completely turned around solely because of the environment that they're practicing in the Toastmaster club. It's crazy. What do you guys have to say about having to be perfect?
You don't have to be perfect. I know for me, if I don't give a speech in a while, I feel like I've gone back a few steps. So always keep up with the program too. And
Yeah, don't be a perfectionist.
Exactly.
Yeah, no. Quick story on that. When I first joined Toastmasters, we had in the educational program 10 speeches that you needed to give. It's changed a lot now, but I got through the first 9 pretty relatively quickly. But that last speech, I kept delaying month after month. I think it took me like 9 months to finally get into that last speech, and people kept asking me like, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from getting to do that last speech? And I was like, I don't feel like it's perfect. And somebody had to really like get me to like convince me to say, it doesn't need to be. Were all your other speeches perfect? So I had to break that mindset of don't need to be perfect. You just gotta practice. And then ever since then, I just, again, like Bethany, try to get in speeches, even if I haven't practiced outside of the meeting a lot, that's okay. The speech in the meeting is practice. So I give speeches off the cuff. Don't even, you could throw me a topic now. I probably could give a 5 to 7 minute speech on it.
Well, speaking of, might as well bring up expectations of joining a Toastmaster club, I guess, right? So we might as well bring up table topics and just talk about that real quick and what it is.
Yep. So table topics is impromptu speaking where you do not know the question, but the table topics master will ask you a question.
And then you have to answer it in 1 to 2 minutes.
Yes.
On your toes. So ask the question, you don't even know what it is, and you just got to go, and you're timed.
Yeah. Table topics is a great skill for practicing if you ever feel uncomfortable, like answering a question like in a meeting. Like if you feel like, oh yeah, I'm that person that somebody asks a question in a meeting and I immediately slump down in my chair, come to Toastmasters, participate in table topics. It will help you build that confidence in being able to do that.
It will definitely build that impromptu muscle for sure.
Yes. And always pause too before you answer the question. I always find that helps too with anything as well.
I agree. So roles beyond speaking. In addition to giving speeches, you'll also take on roles. We heard of listener, but we heard evaluator as well, and Sean's an awesome evaluator. Timekeeper or meeting host, which develop leadership and critical thinking skills. So beyond the speaking, there's actually leadership roles you can take within the club.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the meeting roles, but then there's also every club has their own leadership. So officer roles. There's like Bethany's involved in our district, so there's roles outside of the club. People usually come to Toastmasters, I say, for the communication, but they stay for the leadership because there's so many opportunities to build on leadership skills. And honestly, because of Toastmasters, I'm in the position I have today as a manager. It really helped me not only build my ability to communicate with my peers and with associates, but also those leadership skills you need to effectively grow in any position.
No, that's awesome. That's right. There's different roles or officer roles within the club, and like Sean was mentioning, and Bethany, there's also roles outside of the club within like district level, and there's just different levels that you can be. Like I'm the president of the club this year, and then I'm also on the district marketing chair on the club growth team, which is outside of the club. It's a leadership role outside of the club. And then Bethany as well has leadership outside the club, the public relations manager. And then Sean, are you doing anything outside the club these days? You've been like everything.
I've done a lot. I've done a lot outside the club, and I always am the first person that if an opportunity shows up will be happy to raise my hand and help out, because again, it's all about the opportunities. If you have a passion to learn something more about being, networking or organizing events or what, if you can think about it, we probably can find you something in Toastmasters to help us to grow the organization and to learn at the same time.
No, absolutely. And then builds confidence in all settings. So beyond formal speeches, you'll become more comfortable in meetings, like we talked about earlier, interviews, and everyday conversations as well, not just on stage. So this experience at Toastmasters, I could definitely attest to. It definitely has helped me out outside of Toastmasters, personally and professionally, in conversations with individuals. Absolutely. What about you guys?
I'm going to attest to that too. Even doing my own news stuff, doing my interviews, it helps me as well, talking to people, just starting off that conversation. And I don't think years ago I would have started talking to people, just going up but now I'm like so comfortable with it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize or know that a lot of seasoned people in these clubs they started off really quiet and a lot of anxiety, and they were like they're not the same people. Toastmasters has built up so much confidence in these people that they're just totally different people now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen so many people come through Toastmasters and just they start off with just so little confidence. They were like hiding in the corner of the room, just listening, soaking it in, and then after like a few months, that's all it takes. It's just a few months to just see that turnaround and that change in their confidence. I have one member in one of my clubs right now in Fall Rivers who his first couple of speeches, you could barely hear him. It was like, was that? Now he's speaking more clearly, more audible. He's still not the most loudest person in the room, but you can definitely tell that his confidence is slowly going. And he's only been with the club for, I want to say, 6 months maybe. But again, to come from where he started from that very like shy person, could barely like project, to now being able to project. It does. But it all starts with listening to your peers and not being afraid to step up and practice.
I see a common theme this evening with all of these segments. You want to kind of stand on the shoulders of giants, of people that have been there before or that have tons of experience, because it's just going to do nothing but help you out and springboard you quicker into progress than they even had, because of them sharing their experiences and whatnot.
And in Toastmasters too, you do get a mentor who will help you as well throughout everything, like a coach. They'll be there to support you. You can bounce ideas off of them about speeches.
Yeah, and you don't go into Toastmasters alone. I mean, the environment is supportive enough to not have a mentor, but that mentor piece actually, and I had a mentor, and it really helped out as far as the structure of how Toastmasters works and whatnot, and just the organization itself, the inner workings, and a little bit of the history of it and whatnot. But it's awesome that they assign you a mentor to help you go through it. It just makes the experience that much better. But no, that's awesome. So one other thing about Toastmasters, a talking point I wanted to mention before we go is you set your own pace. You know, whether you want to ease into public speaking or challenge yourself quickly, Toastmasters let you control your own progression and goals.
Yeah,
so that's
no,
cool.
that's
Your own
absolutely
pace.
so true. It's not. It's a learn at your own pace. Basically, that's we tell people that all the time. You can come and in a few months just try and do as many speeches, which I've seen people do. Come in first 3 months, give like a dozen speeches, and really progress fast. Then I've seen people that are like it's 6 months and they still haven't given their first speech.
Take the listener role for 6 months or whatever.
they take on smaller roles, their listener, timer, other roles that just help them to build their confidence. Little bit of table topics every now and then until, and then eventually, though, you get there with a good mentor, with a supportive group, you will eventually feel like, all right, I'm ready to at some point give that first speech. And then once you get past that first hurdle, you just want to keep going. And that's
It's like that.
But that's the thing. We have a very extensive educational program. And then if you follow it and you keep going through the projects and reading up on the subject of public speaking and taking advice from your peers and practice, you can go at your own pace as fast as you want. It's whatever you feel comfortable with.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure at all. And like you said, setting your own pace, you also set your own topics too. No one's going to give you a topic to talk about. You come up with your own speeches. And how I get started too with doing my speeches is I do things that interest me outside of Toastmasters. Like I talk about my work, my yoga. I'm talking about citizens police groups classes I've taken. They're fun to talk about as well.
That's the awesome part too, is like, again, it's your own pace and it's whatever you want to talk about. You're never pressured or, expected to do anything that you don't want to do. It's perfect. So again, we belong to they belong to a couple other clubs too, but we all belong to the Spirited Speakers Club out of Middleborough, Massachusetts. And again, we currently meet virtually right now so that means if you're in a different state, even, you can come and check us out. We currently meet virtually on the second and fourth Wednesdays of every month. Hey, and if you do end up visiting us at our club virtually and you're in a different state and you wanted more information on a club that's near you, because I'm sure there is, we can hook you up. But at least, you met us already, I guess, and we'll welcome you to visit our club. Absolutely. So if you want to ever visit a virtual meeting to see what it's all about, comment Spirited and I'll get you the meeting link. Again, like I said, our next meeting is this next Wednesday, coming up on the 23rd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for those of you that aren't on the East Coast. As I said, if you're interested, comment Spirited under this on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, and I will get you the meeting link. I hope to see you there. Bethany, Sean, thanks for being part of the show tonight, and I hope that I'll see you on future episodes. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for anyone interested on reaching out to me, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn. I've got a YouTube account too. So definitely happy to talk with anyone anytime about public speaking and leadership.
And same here too. I'm on Facebook. I do all the social media websites.
Yeah. And if you guys want to get a hold of them and you can't, just get a hold of me and I will shoot you over their contact info right away. Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. All right. So what did you guys think? Did you get any info that was helpful? If you did, let us know in the comments. All right. Here's where I share with you how you can join in on one of my next Toastmaster meetings. Even if you're out of state, just like the video said, you can join in. So if you want to experience a virtual meeting and see what it's all about, comment Spirited and I'll share the link with you. The next meeting will be Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, the next meeting is Wednesday, February 12th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss out. Come in spirited, like I said, and I'll share the meeting link with you. Feel free to sit back and observe from the sidelines when you're in the meeting. We'll make you feel welcome, but participation is optional. No pressure. Just relax and enjoy the experience. Hope to see you there. Moving on. Keeping it moving. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Keeping It Real. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Every week, we'll dive into important topics that will help you grow, with a mix of fun and practical advice, from nutrition habits to real estate, public speaking skills to networking strategies. This show is designed to inspire you, keep it real, and of course, keep it fun. Tonight, in the Core 4 of Networking segment, Al and I showed up and shared our humble insights on networking expectations and what you should expect from networking. Then, in the Real Estate Roundup segment, the owner of Harmony Title, Mass and Rhode Island real estate attorney Casey Cole Esquire, explained about the crucial role of a closing attorney in the home buying and selling process, and talked a little bit about title insurance and why you should get it. And I told you about the services of my commercial real estate team and brokerage, JNS Realty Group. In the fitness success segment, I shared the step-by-step video recipe of one of my favorite creations, Jamaican chicken fried rice. Then, lastly, in the public speaking segment of the show, from stage fright to spotlight, my fellow Toastmasters, Bethany and Sean, joined me in sharing our personal experiences and insights on what to expect when developing public speaking skills. And we talked a lot about our Toastmasters experiences. And I invited you also to visit my next Toastmaster meeting again, which is Wednesday, February 17th at 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. If you did, let me know. And if you didn't, let me know that too. All feedback is welcome. If you arrived after we started or missed any of the details, don't worry. You can always check out the replay. Before we end tonight's show, I have one last thing to share. Every show will end on a high note with a funny meme or short, hilarious video to keep you smiling. Please stand by for this week's funny moment.
I think that's my favorite comment of all time, that I'm Wish Jim Carrey. Like, you want Jim Carrey, but you go to Wish, and then you get me. Like, why does my Jim Carrey have a vagina somewhere? I think. Maybe. It is kind of ironic that I have this face, and I've always wanted to be a comedian since I was a kid. But, like, what else am I going to do? Like, imagine if I was a doctor with this face, just walking in like, bad news. It's cancer. Good luck. I believe the universe is fucking with me. Not only do I have Jim Carrey's face, but tonight I chipped my tooth. Now I look like fucking Lloyd Christmas. Come on.
Oh my, that's a lot of people looking like Jim Carrey. Thanks for joining me this evening. I can't wait to see you for more Keeping It Real. Be sure to leave your comments, share your thoughts, and don't hesitate to get involved. Stay tuned, stay engaged, and keep it real. I'll see you next week on Monday, February 10th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. See ya.
I know everybody a go like. I know everybody a go like. Success don't come overnight. No matter no substance over hype.